Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of ATM9 to the Sky. Last episode, we completed, well, almost completed the getting started part 1 section here of our main quest line. We only have a coal generator to make and as well as a netherite mesh, which I think we will be able to make today because netherite is not that difficult to get. We just need to make a small machine that does that. There is one more quest line I would like to take a look at, the sophisticated storage mod, because while our chests are not completely full yet, and we only have 3 of them, these sophisticated storage chests are significantly I can store significantly more items. And on the right here, you can see these chests also have all of these different upgrades. We're going to take a look at some. Of course, eventually we will want to make an actual storage system, but I think we can upgrade our current chests so we just have more space to store stuff. Also, forgot to mention that I did a little island expansion. It's kind of a wing here. I think we'll probably do a couple of these around the island, and we'll do specific mod stuff on each of these. For example, this one we might do our dedicated mechanism. I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. Gathered a bit more resources as well. There is not just the things you get from sifting gravel, but I think this is from sand, and some of it is from dust. Not sure which ones exactly, but we have enough resources to get us going into other mods as well. So if we take a look at this quest line, we can just checkmark this. No more vanilla double chest rooms. Exactly, that's what we want. We have a quote-unquote vanilla chest, and I already made one, but this is essentially just a chest with a redstone torch, and you get a specific sophisticated storage chest. They don't stack for some reason, but whatever. So let's take a look. If we check inside it, it doesn't seem much different, it's not much bigger, but it has this slot up here as well as some settings, which, well, we don't care about those that much right now, but we have this slot which we can insert upgrades into. And if we take a look at this upgrade base, also very cheap, let's just make a few. We see that we can use these upgrade bases to insert into the chest slots. And the higher tier the chest, the more slots you get. For example, the one we're interested in is this stack upgrade, tier 1. And it says it multiplies the number of stacks that can fit in a slot by 2. So if we make this one, we don't have any logs. So let's take some logs. Just surround, the other way around. We surround it with logs. Just make a tier 1 at first. And we insert it in our only free slot. We can see now if we take 2 stacks of iron ingots, we can insert them into a single slot. Very nice. And if we insert another one, it just doesn't go in there. But every slot can now store double the ingots. And that is not all. If we take a look at the upgrades that I showed you before, this specific stack upgrade has 6 different tiers. Well, 5, I guess, because the copper one counts as tier 1 plus, because it only stores 3 stacks. But the idea is we insert, for example, a diamond upgrade, and it stores 16 stacks into one slot, which is very, very nice, because we have a lot of one type of resource. For example, all of this copper could go in one slot. Saves a lot of space. And of course, the chests themselves also have tiers. I favorited some up here. We can see an iron tier. If we can use also a copper tier, but it's not really worth using copper, so we'll just use an iron tier to compare these. It's a double chest, so it's double the size of this one, which is a lot of space in comparison. We do a gold one. We place it down. It's 3 chests, and let's do a diamond one. And this should be 4 chests, and it also has 4 slots for upgrades. So that means we can do 4 stack upgrades, tier 5s, for example, which would be probably, well, essentially would never fill up a single slot of items ever. So let's just take all the items from these quests. We can't do the netherite just yet, but hopefully this episode will get some netherite so we can upgrade our chests as well as our sifting setup up here. I decided just to move my items over here. I'm just gonna place down some chests, and as it turns out, you can actually attach them together and you get double the slots, which is kind of insane, but this wasn't a thing before. And finally, let's start getting into some power. The first thing we need is this basic coal generator. This is just the very, very early game to get ourselves, and I don't have a redstone torch, to get ourselves started with some basic machinery. So we do this coal generator, very nice. We have our quest completed, getting started part 1. We claim our rewards, we checkmark this, and now we can take a look at the other quest line. And there is a lot of stuff, and at the end it says it's time. That is a long ways away from where we are currently, but we probably start at just this quest and move on forward through this line, and yeah, we'll probably just see where we get from there. But it all starts here with this coal generator. We place in our coal and we can see there is some power generating. It's not a lot, it won't last us probably even 10 minutes. We need to upgrade already, but this is good enough for now. The first thing we need to do is start a bit of mechanism, and the first machine is our metallurgic infuser. This machine allows us to make several materials that can be used for power and more machines in the future. Alright, it's pretty cheap. We have all the materials. I should probably bookmark that. Let's make it and let's pluck it down. We'll pluck it next to our coal generator because this does need power. You can see it's already filled up. And this is the most basic mechanism machine you start with, and you'll probably use until the end of the game, I guess. The next quest requires us to make a few things. We need these infused alloys, the basic control circuits, and these energy tablets. All of these require the metallurgic infuser, so if you check the recipes, we need some redstone and some iron to make these infused alloys. It's pretty simple. The ratio is 1 to 1, so we place in our redstone, place in our iron, and the machine is very loud, but it slowly gets going. For reference, we can take a look at the right over here where we have all of these factories, which are essentially just upgraded versions of all the mechanism machines. Not all of them, but the basic ones like the infuser. We'll probably want to make all of these eventually. They're not that expensive. We just need to get ourselves going with these basic materials first. Alloys are done. It's the same recipe for the circuits. It's just we need osmium instead, and we'll make quite a few of these. But these are a bit more expensive because they use 2 redstone dust each. Also, you may have noticed this quest is called the Wind Generator Part 1. So these are the parts we need to actually make ourselves the wind generator. Let's make our tablets here, 1 and 2. And we can see a lot of quests are completing because I have done other things before this one. These don't stack, unfortunately, which is very annoying, but we should have everything for our wind generator. So what's so great about this wind generator is that, well, it just generates power from wind. It probably does more than this coal generator, maybe not now, because it is important that we put it higher in the sky. If we check our F3 and check our Y levels, we can see we are Y71. We would ideally like to have it close to the world, I don't know what it's called, ceiling? Build height, right? Build height, which is 256, because it will generate a lot more power that way, because it's currently doing only 34 RF, or it's FE per tick. We'll be looking at this quest book a lot today because there's quite a few quests that we have to do in order to progress. So let's take a look at the next one. Down here we can see the pipes. We already have a couple of these. We already have the item pipe, which we use to transfer items in our setup over there for dirt, but there is an energy pipe as well. And these ones, as it says, they are cheap pipes. They don't transfer a lot of power, and mechanism itself has a way to transport power. We only need some steel. And this is the next actual quest. in our line over here. So I think we'll skip this one for now. We'll do these upgrades because they are useful. But for now, we'll just go to steel and try and get ourselves the mechanism pipes or energy conduits or what they're called. And if we take a look at how we get steel, it's pretty simple. We just need the same machine as some carbon, which is just coal, and enriched iron, which is again just iron that's gone through the machine twice. Well, once. And then when we do it twice, we get some steel dust. And when we get some steel dust, we can just smelt it in a furnace and get some steel. Very simple, and I think that's 2 quest lines. Yeah, right here. And then we get these universal cables, which are for power. The steel is done, but it took a long time because it's very annoying to use this machine when it's just made with no upgrades, no nothing. But now we can smelt it down. And while it smelts, I just wanted to take a look at another quest line, which is actually just mechanism. And you can see we already have some check marks here because we just made those things. But there is another machine that is blocking the completion of these quests, which is the heat generator. The recipe is pretty simple. We just need some copper and we take a look how it works. It's also just another way of generating power. If we put it down over here, we need to surround it with some sort of heat source, for example, lava. Hopefully, maybe let's not flood our island, but if we put some, well, some heat next to it, it generates a little bit of power, but look how little it's generating. You can surround it completely and then, well, it might be something significant, but realistically we probably won't use this because it's just generating not enough power. I think you can also put in things that went fast to increase the power generation. Let's just check if we put in some coal. How fast does it use it and how much power does it generate? Oh no, it generates lava. And then that lava is used to make some more power. Well, it's not bad, but it's definitely not worth using. I might surprise you, but this wandering trader actually can be useful sometimes in this mod pack. If we check the trades, you can see he's offering some very nicely enchanted boots. I also got this diamond sword before. As you may have seen, we haven't made a enchanting table, but this guy offers some great stuff. So we just, make our diamond boots, give him some emeralds, and we get nice enchanted boots. And afterwards, we just give him a little slice. In the meantime, our steel is smelted, and in our quest book we can see there again are 2 branches. One of them is the universal cables, which we use to transfer power, and as well as the enrichment chamber, which is probably a priority for anyone who starts mechanism because it just saves you a lot of resources in the long run. We can use it to enrich our coal or our redstone to make our machines here be a lot more efficient. The recipe is not very expensive. This is why we needed steel for the steel casing. Make our enrichment chamber and we plug it down next to our coal generator. Maybe, yeah, sure, because this also needs some power. And now if we take some redstone and put it in our enrichment chamber, we get enriched redstone. And now instead of using a whole redstone dust, we put it in and it says 80 millibuckets. In comparison, 1 redstone dust gives us 10 millibuckets, so it's 8 times more efficient. And this way we can use 8 iron and only 1 redstone to get not these control circuits, but these alloys, 8 alloys. And only now the quest book tells us we can get started with mechanism, which you kind of already have done because it's very similar to this quest line. If we take a look at it, right, we have quite a few quests completed. Maybe let's claim all of the rewards. We got a random chance drop for the alloy, reinforced alloy, which is the next tier, where we need diamonds and the previous tier alloy to make it. So this is nice. It gives a little head start. Also, I forgot to show you, we can use the enrichment chamber to get more ores. This still isn't as efficient as using the hammer we had, which I don't think I have anymore. Oh no, I do have one, an Invar one. So we use 3 raw ores to get 4 dust, which is a bit of a bonus, but it's not as efficient, of course. So there are 2 more quests up here. it says these are optional, but we definitely need to do these. One is for upgrades, the energy and speed upgrade, and the other one is for a basic tier installer, which is the factory that we want, and there are more tiers of it later on. But first, let's make a basic tier. They're not very expensive. We just need some planks in the middle as a temporary block, I guess, before we place it on our actual machine. So let's make two because we have two of these machines. We just shift right click and they change shape and size. And now we see we have 3 slots and we can do auto sort. So that means if we place in, actually we have an enriched diamond. If we place in our diamond and place in our alloys, it automatically distributes them. Same with this one. And of course, because the machine is doing 3 items at a time, it's consuming 3 times more power. So this is why we will definitely need better sources of power, or maybe just, more wind turbines. We'll see. First, let's make the energy upgrades because they are relatively cheap. Well, also the speed upgrades are cheap, kind of. We just need some osmium dust. Very nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to place all of the speed upgrades in, but if we shift right click, we just fill it up with all the upgrades at once. So we have 8, that's the limit, and it's 10 times more efficient. And if we put in our redstone dust again, you see it only uses 6 Fe, which is forge energy, I think. So that is, well, it is 10 times more efficient, but when we put in our speed upgrades, and I'll only do 4, we can see it's back up to 60. And so that means if we do all of the speed upgrades, it's going to be 200. And that was only for one slot. So it does 600, or I'm not sure. It's a big number. And we can't support that with this poor coal generator. Getting back on track, we have our universal cables. I said before, these are for transferring power. They are relatively cheap when we start getting some steel. We also need some redstone, of course. We put it in the middle. These are the lowest tier as well, but if you check the capacity, I think it's also the transfer rate. It's more than enough for even some late game machines to transfer 3.2 kilo forge energy, I think, or Fe, whatever, power, right? And this unlocks our quest to storing power. So we have our basic energy cube. This is also relatively simple. We just need some steel, as everything does. And, well, I think we can finally hook up all our generators in a separate place and our machines in a separate place. So we have a proper system being set up. We make our energy cube. We move our power generation to the side here. Oops. We make another energy cube. When we place it down, we can configure it. So we see these are, the red ones are input and the blue is output. So if we place our cable here, for example, we can see in the UI, we probably want this. Oh no, it's actually this one. Well, we want this as an output, and we hook this part up to all of the power generating machines, like the wind turbine and our heat and our coal, which is not generating anything at the moment, but all of this should flow into our energy cube, and we can see how much energy is inputting. I think that much energy is inputting because we are currently draining our wind generator. It's going to go down to this value here because nothing else is generating any power, right? Then we hook up our machines, the cables are full, and we are actually set up to plug in more machines and plug in more power, and we have our storage in the middle. Now the next quest is the one I wanted to do for a long time, and that is this superheating element. This smelts cobblestone at a rate of 60, so that means every tick we get 60 millibuckets of lava from cobblestone. For comparison, our campfire over there only did 2. So it's 30 times more efficient. And it's very cheap. We don't have to actually power it or anything. We only need to place it down under our crucible and it just works. Well, it used to. Maybe it doesn't anymore, but as far as I remember, we just place it down, crucible on top, we get some cobblestone, One, two, three, four. Yep, and it's generating so much lava. It's a bucket in just a few seconds. And the quest next to it is to make ourselves a fluid tank. It just stores some lava, and we're going to be using lava a lot in this mod pack. I just wanted to show you a quick little setup I usually do. Actually, I accidentally grew a mushroom. We can even use these very basic pipes. So we pump from this drawer into our crucible. We pump cobblestone. We place down our tank here. Hook up a fluid pipe. Put this to output, and it outputs all of our lava into this fluid tank. You can see we already have 2 buckets in it. We can even upgrade this tank even further, up to 256 buckets, but for now this will do fine. Nice animation here. And then if we hook up our stone barrel to our tank here, we can do it directly, or if we want to have a buffer in the middle, we hook up our tank, and now we can use this lava in our stone barrel to, for example, to make some endstone. We just do a right click on our barrel here and we get endstone. And endstone is useful for if we break it down with our hammer, we get crushed endstone and we can sift it and we get some ender pearls, ender eyes, and some chorus fruits. The higher tiers even gives us these skull shriekers and echo shards that are also very useful for some crafting. So this is a great way to get some resources from the end. And there are 2 things in particular that I really wanted. If we go to our tips and tricks, there is a thing called a simple magnet. And it really just does that. It attracts items to you. So we can now make it because we have our ender pearl. And maybe you already noticed we have a second tier as well, the advanced magnet, which needs an ender eye. So also we can make that. The advanced magnet has its own UI. You can configure it how far it picks up XP and items. I usually like to leave it at 5 because I don't want to pick up everything, but it's just convenient when I turn it on that stuff I throw on the ground or if I sift stuff, I can pick it up. Also useful if I, harvest some crops, they automatically come into my inventory. One other really useful thing about this contraption is because we have infinite lava, infinite cobblestone, we can actually make infinite obsidian. And with this barrel, we can actually pump it out into a chest. And if we check the recipes for obsidian, you can see there's a whole lot of things that use obsidian, so this is a good thing to have. Checking back with the quest line, we can see there are quite a few branching paths, and I thought maybe let's check out this one first because this is just my curiosity. I just want to see how much a simple iron furnace can generate power. And we only need a couple of these upgrades, which, well, pretty much don't cost anything. And after that, we'll take a look at this quest line here for the biofuel. I'm not sure if we'll use the biofuel generator specifically because it doesn't generate much power, but there is another use for biofuel afterwards that we might use in mechanism specifically that generates quite a lot of power, and we'll probably use that up until we start getting into some reactors. So I got everything made. Let's put down our furnace. We can check the augment section, and firstly let's put in our generator augment. So the cable does connect, very nice, and we can put in coal, for example. I drained some power from the energy cube and we can see it's generating only 40 Fe per tick, which is not a lot. Of course, this is the lowest tier, I think, or maybe copper is the lowest tier, but pretty much the lowest tier are in the furnace, and they go up in efficiency quite a bit. So this might be a useful way to generate some power. We only need something to burn. But there is this blasting augment which we can use in combination with the generator to burn stuff like, well, diamonds. And maybe it's a lot more efficient. So let's see. If we put in a diamond, we can see it's generating still 40 Fe per tick. Maybe it just burns longer, it just doesn't generate more power. Seeing how this hasn't really dropped after maybe more than a minute makes me think that this is just really efficient at burning resources, but it doesn't generate a lot of power, which is not what we really need. What I'm more interested in is this crusher, and we can make it pretty cheaply. we already have a lot of this stuff made. We just needed some lava, which we also did over here. We can put it down next to our other machines. I also made some of these upgrades. We have it up to tier 2, so it does 5 slots. And now we can use stuff like, well, I think we can just use wheat, for example, and crush it down if we auto-sort it. It's a bit slow because we don't have any upgrades, but we get this biofuel and we get quite a lot of it. Of course, we can use it in our biofuel generator, which I'll make now just so we have some extra power generation. Oh, we need to place it at the back. And we simply put in our biofuel. It has an internal tank and it generates quite a bit of power, which is nice for some early game power. I have to say this UI is a bit misleading because it says out to 180 FE, but actually it does only 140. This is the maximum output it can do if it has something in its internal storage. But realistically it does only 140. But the real reason why we want biofuel is for this small branch in our mechanism questline. Where is it? Here, down here. Because we can use this gas burning generator to produce a lot of power. We just need some ethylene. Getting ethylene is not too difficult. I'll try and just set it up and then I'll show you how it works. We only need 3 machines. The electrolytic separator, the pressurized reaction chamber, and the gas burning generator itself. I lied, we also need the crusher. And this is it. A self-sustaining gas-burning generator. Almost a self-sustaining. The only thing we need to constantly add is our biofuel. That's why we need the crusher, and we probably need to hook it up to this reaction chamber so we don't need to manually feed it biofuel, but it uses so little biofuel in comparison to how much power it's outputting. It won't be an issue for now. Again, until next episode, I'll probably just clean everything up here and make proper setups. And just to show you how this works, we get our infinite water source, pump it into our electrolytic separator. From that, we get hydrogen and oxygen. We dump the excess oxygen because we only need the hydrogen. The hydrogen gets pumped into our pressurized reaction chamber where we use, again, some water and hydrogen with biofuel. And now we turn this on. It generates us these substrates, which we'll also need in the future for other things to get these HDPE pellets. But for now, we just store them in this drawer. Also, as a byproduct, we get ethylene, and all this ethylene gets pumped into our gas burning generator. As you can see, it's not much, but it burns very slowly. When we turn it on, you can see it's, we generate more ethylene than we use it, I think. And these have 0 upgrades, and when these are full of upgrades, we'll never run out of ethylene. The only thing we can add is more gas burning generators to the setup. And if we check our generation, it's producing 2 kilo FE, not RF, but FE per tick, and it's only going up slowly. Our energy cube is already full. So the idea is if you constantly keep this gas burning generator full, it's going to generate over, I think it's over like 30 kilo FE per tick. That means that already all of these generators don't really have any use anymore. Also, the questline tells us that there are other ways to generate power. I don't think there is anything better currently than using the gas burning generator. Again, eventually we'll look into reactors, but for now, this is all the power we'll need up until endgame, I think. With that being said, I think that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. I did say before that we are going to make a netherite mesh, which I didn't realize actually requires the smithing template. I kind of forgot. I did say that before, and this is a whole different process with occultism. I didn't really want to get into that, and there's still so much more we can do in this mod pack with these quests, so that's why I just postponed it. So that's it for today. Bye bye.